When you think about ancient Greek tragedy, you probably picture these stoic heroes, right? And grand declarations from the gods on high. But then there's Euripides. He was one of the three greats, but he feels completely different. He's raw, he's unsettling, and honestly, even after 2,500 years, he still feels incredibly modern.
And that's really the big question we're diving into. What was it about Euripides that made him so provocative in his own time? And why does his work still hit us with such a raw, emotional punch today? So, to really get Euripides, you have to picture his world, classical Athens. We're talking about the birthplace of democracy, the city of the Parthenon. And theater back then, it wasn't just a fun night out, it was a massive civic event. And among the big three tragedians, Euripides was the one who consistently made people squirm in their seats.
When you put him next to the other guys, the difference is just night and day. Aeschylus and Sophocles, they were all about these grand, noble themes of cosmic justice and fate. But Euripides, he dragged tragedy down to earth and plunged right into the messy, dangerous, and unsettling world of pure human emotion. You could say he was the first guy to really put psychology on the stage. And that right there was his real game changer. He basically flipped the script on what tragedy was. It stopped being about what fate does to people, and it became about what people do when they're pushed to their absolute emotional breaking point. For Euripides, the real action, the real drama, it all happens inside our heads.
And there is no better example of this than his masterpiece, Medea. This is not some distant, dusty myth. Oh no, this is a painfully personal story about betrayal, passion, and a revenge plot so cold and so calculated, it is still genuinely shocking to watch today.
The way he builds the psychology here is just masterful. First, you have the initial wound, this profound betrayal and public humiliation. Then you watch that pain curdle into a cold, calculated rage. And the final step? It's an act of revenge so horrifying that he forces the audience to sit there and confront the terrible, twisted logic of her pain.
And this is the trap Euripides sets for you. He makes Medea's motives totally understandable from her point of view, while making her actions completely unbearable to witness. He shows us that the same intense passion that fuels love can, when it's betrayed, fuel an equally intense destruction. He makes you sit with that contradiction. That's his genius. All right, so let's shift gears to another thing he did that feels so incredibly relevant today. He focused his stories on the people who were usually voiceless in Athenian society. He didn't just give them a line or two, he put them right at the center of the action.
Just think for a second about who actually held power in Athens. It was the male citizens, period. And who does Euripides build his most powerful tragedies around? Women, foreigners, slaves, prisoners of war? He forced the powerful men in the audience to see the world through the eyes of the powerless. That was a truly radical thing to do.
A perfect case in point is his play, The Trojan Women. Now, this came out during the Peloponnesian War, a brutal conflict. And what does he do? He completely ignores the glorious Greek heroes and focuses every ounce of attention on the suffering of the conquered women of Troy. It's a gut punch of a play, and it's still one of the most powerful anti-war statements ever written. Euripides wasn't just questioning society, he was also taking aim at the foundational stories of his own culture. He didn't just retell the myths people loved. He put them on trial, poking holes in their morality and exposing all their messy contradictions. So he'd take these stories that everyone knew by heart and he'd just twist them. He'd shift the perspective just enough to suddenly reveal the hidden cruelty or the moral hypocrisy in these tales of gods and heroes that everyone had always just accepted. And yeah, that skepticism went all the way to the top. The gods in a Euripidean play are not always wise and just. Not at all. They can be petty, they can be cruel, and sometimes they're just terrifyingly indifferent to human suffering. This forced his audience to grapple with a really uncomfortable question. Where do the gods fit in when the world is so full of pain? So you have to wonder, right? If this guy was so challenging, so willing to make people uncomfortable, how did his work not only survive, but actually end up thriving? Well, the proof is kind of baked right into the numbers. Okay, so check this out. We think he wrote around 92 plays during his life. That's a massive body of work. Now remember, ancient texts are incredibly fragile. Most are just lost to time. Out of those 92, We have 19 that survived completely intact. Now, 19 might not sound like a huge number, but wait for it. And here it is. Those 19 plays? That's more than what we have from Aeschylus and Sophocles, put together. And the reason is pretty simple. After he died, people couldn't get enough of him. Later generations of scribes and actors copied his scripts so enthusiastically that his survival rate just skyrocketed. He was the writer they kept coming back to.
And that lasting appeal ended up creating a kind of blueprint. His intense focus on our inner conflicts, his sharp critique of power, that raw emotional honesty, it all directly influenced Roman theater. And from there, it rippled through all of Western drama, right up to this very day. Which kind of leaves us with one final big question. If the whole point of tragedy isn't to make us feel good, but to force us to look at hard, uncomfortable truths about ourselves and our world, then maybe, just maybe, Euripides, the ancient rebel, was the truest tragedian who ever lived.